This week on Healthy Living, we look at progress and challenges in eradicating FGM. And Nigerian gender advocate Lois Tofumi Amelie discusses efforts to provide therapy to victims of FGM. Plus, the American Red Cross raises concern over blood shortages in the US. These stories and more in this edition of Healthy Living. Hello, I'm Nanit Talani. Welcome to Healthy Living. It's a global issue that continues to raise concerns worldwide: female genital mutilation, or FGM. The United Nations Children's Fund estimates that at least 200 million girls and women globally have undergone one or four types of FGM. Medical experts say female genital cutting endangers women and girls' health with health problems such as severe bleeding, complications in childbirth, and psychological damage. Observers say the practice, often linked to cultural rites of passage, involves the partial or total removal of the external female genitalia. According to WHO, 3 million girls are at risk of undergoing FGM every year in Africa. UNFPA says in Guinea-Bissau, more than 52% of women between 15 and 49 years old have been victims of the practice. The country approved a law that criminalizes the practice, but many communities continue to defy the legislation.
Hayatou Baldé, a 37-year-old woman, underwent female genital mutilation when she was just 5 years old in the village of Kebo in southern Guinea-Bissau. She remembers that day with great sadness.
Some old ladies did it. I was yelling at them, shouting indecent words to them. I was angry even though I didn't know what they wanted to do to me. But their attitude made me realize that it was something that would make me suffer, that it would hurt, and that I wouldn't want to do it.
Hayatou Baldé, who requested that her identity be concealed for fear of being recognized by her family, says, like other victims of FGM, she has experienced long-term health problems, including pain during intercourse and psychological trauma.
Before, when I didn't know my body, I questioned myself a lot. Was it because I started having sex late, that's why I was feeling this pain? Or was it because I can connect to my body and that's why my body can get used to sexual intercourse? I still wondered at the time whether I had a problem or if my partner did. But I ended up realizing that it was a consequence of female genital mutilation.
Family doctor Malafi Mané has been working for the past 14 years with women of all ages who underwent FGM in the West African country. He says the practice has an impact on the victims' sexual quality of life and also affects their partners.
These women lose sensitivity during sexual intercourse and they do not feel orgasm. Imagine a woman having sexual intercourse with her husband, boyfriend, or whoever, and not feeling this very important need, orgasm. This, in many cases, leads to secondary effects such as infidelity.
In 2011, the government of Guinea-Bissau established the National Committee for the Abandonment of Practices Harmful to the Health of Women and Children. The president of the organization, Marliatou Diallo Condé, says FGM is a public health concern in the country.
Female genital mutilation, unfortunately, still constitutes a major concern and a serious public health problem, affecting around 52% of women nationally aged between 15 and 49 years old.
In
2011, Guinea-Bissau also adopted a law criminalizing FGM. According to the United Nations Population Fund and the United Nations Children's Fund Joint Program on the Elimination of Female Genital Mutilation, since 2018, law enforcement has resulted in 9 arrests, 3 cases brought to court, and 6 convictions and sanctions due to the practice of FGM in the country. But enforcing the law is a challenge.
falta de aplicação da lei encoraja.
The lack of enforceability of the law encouraged the practice to continue. It should be noted that we have porous borders, making Guinea-Bissau a viable center for female genital mutilation in the region.
Para as comunidades,
Hayatou Baldé pleads with communities to stop the practice.
Dizem que as vossas filhas
Let our daughters grow as they were born, because God knows what He's doing. If He made us complete, no one should cut us. We must not be cut.
completo. Ninguém nos deve cortar. Não devemos ser cortadas.
Data from the National Institute of Statistics shows that between 2018 and 2019, girls and women from rural areas with limited education or who identify as Muslims are at a greater risk of female genital mutilation in Guinea-Bissau. For Lassama Kasama, in Guinea-Bissau, Barbara Santos, VOA News.
Lois Tufunmi Ameli is a certified sexual and gender-based mental health advocate. She is certified by the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights. Ameli is the executive director of Good Tides Philippine Missions Foundation, an organization dedicated to offering therapy to victims of FGM. She discusses the fight against female genital cutting.
There are different types of female genital mutilation. We have the clitoridectomy, that's when you cut out the clitoris. We have, excision, that's the type 2, when you cut out the clitoris and the labia minora. Then we have the type 3, that's the infibulation, when you sew down the vaginal orifice and leave a small place for urination. The type 4 talks about, insertion of herbs, all those other, because everybody has their own cultural backing, and it's actually good to report. It's good to make people understand that, this thing is not good, though. Our initiative was no hiding place. I want a forum where we can all come together and partner as grassroots organizations. And I feel that one of the people that we don't really communicate with are the religious people, and they have a fair share. They have their own fair share and responsibility to educate people. So I like the fact that men are also partnering with us. It is important, very important, that men and boys come into this fight with us, because most times the father may not see, the father may have gone out, but the boy will be at home. The boy sees everything that happens. The UN is talking about the fact that we need to end female genital mutilation before 2030. If the men and the boys can join us in this fight before 2030, I want to trust that we'll end female genital mutilation.
A non-profit organization based in the US, Clitorid, aims to restore women scarred by female genital mutilation by offering reconstructive surgeries. To find out more, we spoke with Nadine Garrick, Clitorid Director of Operations.
So FGM cutting has been happening for, I want to say, thousands of years. And it's really important to address it because, it's affecting women, of course, physically and mentally, their self-esteem. Now, a spiritual leader was in Africa just a few years ago in 2006, where he was giving a speech, and he realized that FGM was a big problem there, And so he said, we must do something, At that time, Dr. Pierre Foldes had found a way to, it was a surgery, clitoral restorative surgery, that can repair the clitoris of women that have been genitally mutilated. Maitreya Rayal said, maybe we could build a hospital. And we had a good team in Burkina Faso, and sure enough, we started the building of this hospital. We have been, since 2009, I think, we have been very busy and active as a non-profit organization to restore the clitoris of women that have suffered from female genital mutilation. Women and men think that the clitoris is just a little tip here, the little tip that we see. But the clitoris is actually a very large organ. Most of it is tucked inside our vulva. The surgery works because when the circumciser cuts, she cuts just a little bit here. She cannot cut the whole thing. It's impossible. So what does the surgeon do? They remove the scar tissue from the part where the cut took place, and then the stump of the clitoris is brought up to the surface and then, of course, held into place with sutures. So the surgery takes about an hour, and the recovery takes about 3 months. So we need to re-educate them and also to make them feel happy, comfortable with their body. The surgery is no big deal. The most important part is addressing, making peace with the past, making peace with who had you cut. And so when the forgiveness has taken place, then it's time to look at your vulva and fall in love with it.
The American Red Cross has declared a critical blood shortage, with supplies running the lowest in 20 years. The number of donors in the country has declined by 40% for reasons that include COVID, seasonal infections, and bad weather. Angelina Bagdasarian visited a blood donation station in Los Angeles in California and talked with some of the donors. Anna Weiss narrates her story.
Lindy Lewis has been donating blood for many years for personal reasons.
I have the ability to do it because I know not everybody can. I know there's shortages. And then there have been cases of cancer in my family before. So with donating platelets, it helps cancer patients. So it's something that I can do to help people even if I don't know them.
Lewis will spend about 2 hours donating blood, enough time to relax and watch a movie, she says. But she's one of the few people at the blood donation center. And according to Joanne Nowlin from the American Red Cross, the number of blood donors has hit a record low in the last 2 decades.
Since 20 years ago, the blood donor population has dropped by 40%. We used to have close to 4 million, now it's just a little over 2 million. And so this is something, and a lot of this has to do with, certainly after the pandemic, when we had schools were closed or businesses were not operating. Right now, with the weather happening across the country, seasonal illnesses.
Heavy snowfalls, torrential rain, and tornadoes across the U.S. have caused many potential donors to cancel their appointments, say American Red Cross representatives. And thanks to seasonal illnesses like flu and the return of COVID, Nowlin says the situation might get even worse.
Right now, the most urgent need is for platelets as well as type O blood, positive or negative. But really, any type blood is needed right now so that we can increase the overall blood supply.
Anyone older than 18 can donate blood in the U.S. once about every 56 days, and the donor's weight needs to exceed 50 kilos. Dean Rubin says he comes here to donate blood every 2 months.
I've been donating platelets for about 10 years. I'm lucky that I have very good health, and I feel like it's a simple way to give back to those that are less fortunate.
In the U.S., blood donors don't get paid, even when the blood shortage reaches critical levels. Experts believe being paid for that might make potential donors see donating blood as a way to earn extra cash and keep them from mentioning potential medical restrictions or underlying conditions. But Lewis says there are some perks.
If you donate platelets 3 times, you get a $10 gift card each time, and it's an e-gift card that you get to choose what you want. And then we get entered into a raffle for an all-expenses-paid trip to the Super Bowl. And we've gotten shirts, socks, just random little gifts.
Experts say every 2 seconds someone in the U.S. needs blood or platelets. So every person who donates on average 500 milliliters of blood is likely to save a life. Frangilina Bagdasarian in Los Angeles, California, Anna Rice, VOA News.
That's our show for today. For more health news, wellness tips, and medical breakthroughs, stay connected to Voice of America at voaafrica.com. Until next time, stay well and strive to make every day a healthy day.